Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game SO. I got a super fun and super exciting video for you guys today because I am reviewing the recently released Blood Refresh Supply. It's another Nightdive Studios remaster, and if you're wondering, didn't they already do something like that? They did, but they've come back around to make it even better. And honestly, Nightdive's track record, especially on my reviews on this channel, is absolutely spectacular. And even though I don't really have a favorite quote-unquote developer, Nightdive Studios absolutely gives me everything I want out of these old legacy games when they remaster them, and Blood Refresh Supply is no different. Just so you know, in this video you're going to be seeing both Steam footage off my gaming PC as well as PlayStation 5 footage, because this is going to be coming to consoles. So I will notate when we're looking at the PC version like we are now, and I'll let you know when we move over to PlayStation 5. And if you see a slight color shift, that is just the difference in the hardware. There isn't any issue in the capture whatsoever. It's just one of those things. My gaming PC is going to do something different than an actual PlayStation 5. If you just heard a dog bark in the voiceover, that's because Gizmo is very upset. The electrician was just here to diagnose a problem in our current place before we move out, and he basically thought that the sky was falling and people are rising up out of their graves to try to attack him. All jokes aside, it was a good segue to explain that one little bark without having to actually go over and redo the voiceover, because you guys actually like hearing about the dogs. But now that we've gotten completely off track, let's get back on track with Blood. If you've never played this game before, I cannot stress out enough, this is top 10 first-person shooter of the 90s all day long and twice on Sundays. And if you haven't played this game since it was new back in the day, you 100% owe it to yourself to take a revisit of it. And honestly, Refresh Supply is going to be the de facto best way to play this game in 2025. It has the entirety of the original experience as far as all of the episodes, plus expansions as well, and I'll be getting into those on the PlayStation 5 footage. So just so you know, on the Steam version right here, I am playing all of the original episodes, and on the PlayStation 5, the captures are going to be some of the expansion packs. I'll explain that more when we get into it. But it even has some reworked intro cut sequences, which are absolutely still janky and cheesy, so go ahead and listen, and I'll be right back.
Welcome, my servants, my slaves.
What is your bidding, Master?
You have failed me. I disavow you all.
What?
I've taken your love.
What I love about Nightdive Studios is they basically keep the jank intact when it comes to cutscenes like that. They just improve the overall presentation quality, because the 90s was not the era of good voice acting, and Blood is no different. But now we've moved over to the PlayStation 5 and the Marrow expansion, because you're not just getting the overall Blood experience here, you're also getting some really fun expansions. Now, of course, on the PlayStation 5 side of things, you're not really going to be rocking it with mouse and keyboard easily compared to Steam, but this is now going to be available on every single platform, because before it seems like there was a rights issue and maybe not every single platform could get Blood, and that is definitely good, because this remaster deserves to go far and wide on every single platform out there. And big thanks to Atari for sending over the review key on this one. I want to let you know when I do get review keys in that the company provided them, but of course, like everything else, I am under no obligation whatsoever to say anything about the game other than what I want to. But honestly, all you need to do is make Blood better for modern audiences, and I'm going to call the thing a 10 out of 10, because that's exactly what Blood was back in the day. It is one of those titles that every single time I play it, I am always amused by it. I've loved it in the 90s when I bought it new sight unseen, just on the store shelves, and I love it today in 2025 just as much. Now, I will say, of course, trying to use a controller on PlayStation 5 is going to be a completely different experience, but if you don't have a gaming PC, it's absolutely still going to work for you, because Nightdive has done a great job of figuring out how to make the controls really work. But moving back over to the Steam version of the game, definitely remember, don't get too close to exploding barrels. I always forget what their blast radius is, and I always blow the ever-loving hell out of myself, which is always funny for a capture. But a soundtrack sample one time and I'll be right back. I mean, not only does Blood have an incredible soundtrack, but I always love how Nightdive remasters these games for the ultimate presentation. This is better than I've ever heard Blood sound before, and I 100% love that. And the reality is, this isn't just a review of Blood, because of course, what can I say about a game as good as this? But what I can review is the overall package, just how well it works, and just how impressive it is. In my entire time capturing this on the PC side of things, I had absolutely no bugs whatsoever, no crashes or anything else. And I will say, because it is Nightdive after all, the amount of options here to articulate the experience both visually as well as gameplay wise that you want to have should be the gold standard as far as these ports are concerned. Again, I apologize that this is slightly zoomed out, but I have ultra wide monitors and I had to go in and actually switch it over to a 16:9 presentation because by default, like many games, it's just going to boot to the overall aspect ratio that your monitors have. But just look at the overall options here of all of the different resolutions and frame rates you can get. You can get this thing at basically 480p and you're going to absolutely have fun with that, and I love that they do stuff like this. It's one of those things, they just always give you different options to play around with so you can really maximize your gameplay experience. Now I have zoomed into the options menu, I just basically left it unzoomed so you could see all of the different aspect ratios. And honestly, I believe this should be the standard moving forward for all of these remasters. Nightdive is basically giving you the map on how to make a game not only better for a modern audience, but give them ultimate control. So I hope that every other developer out there uses that basically as a guidepost to say, if we're going to be remastering a classic legacy game, this is what we need to do. Because the reality is there's many different ways to play Blood, so something like Refresh Supply has to justify itself as being the best version of the game that gives you the most content and the most options, and it absolutely nails that brief. And just so you know, I always prefer playing Blood at 100 FOV versus 90, just makes the game feel a little bit more chaotic and a little bit faster. Now on the presentation front, this just looks like Blood. You have all of the original pixelation, you have all of the enemy sprites, everything is exactly how it should look, and that's something that Blood definitely needs. You do not want an artist going in with too heavy of a hand changing things, because a lot of what made Blood a classic outside of the gameplay and excellent level design were the enemy sprites and just how good they've looked within the engine in and of itself. So that is something here that has only been basically upscaled to make it look a little bit cleaner on modern resolution monitors, but they haven't done anything that makes this game not feel like Blood in and of itself. And with new stuff like the overall weapon wheel where you can quick select items without having to go through the keyboard 1 through 9, there's just so many quality of life improvements here that are going to keep you in the game more. Because again, when I was capturing this, I was basically using 0 through 9 to select my weapons and trying to remember exactly what button was bound to what weapon because it had been a few years since I played it. But with the quick select wheel, that's going to be something that absolutely can be that much quicker. But again, it doesn't affect what Blood is. That is really what's great about this remaster. It is still the exact same game. It doesn't change anything in that respect. It just gives you a lot of options on top and a lot of quality of life improvements to basically make this feel like a modern boomer shooter in a graphical style from the 90s. But a soundtrack sample too, kind, because I've loved this track in particular, and I'll be right back.
It burns!
Moving back over to the PlayStation 5 footage, again, you're not just getting all of those initial campaigns and missions from the original game, you were getting all the expansion packs, and before the soundtrack sample I basically said that this feels like a modern game developed in 2025 that just takes the 90s aesthetic, and that is absolutely a hot thing in video games right now, basically remaking the boomer shooter to give you an experience that's both modern but also feels like something that you played in the 90s, because trust me, I play a ton of first-person shooters even if I don't cover all of them on the channel, because I love talking about the retro stuff, but the modern ones I kind of just play in my own spare time for fun, because Video Game Esoterica doesn't just play retro, he also plays modern when it actually hits. But I would say 9 out of 10 new first-person shooters I enjoy, but I kind of wish they had more of this gameplay style, and that is why Nightdive Studios is so important in the gaming landscape right now. They are giving us all of the things that we love, they're just making it more enjoyable to play. I love the lighting effects here, they are subtle but they are good, and again, it still plays exactly like Blood. The movement feel, the overall mouse aim, all of the jumping mechanics, this feels like the exact game mechanically that you remember as well, because that's one thing I always look for in these remasters and remakes, even though you can't really quote-unquote see it on screen. Does the jump feel like the jump? Do the weapons feel like the weapons? Does it have that same gameplay feel that it did in the 90s? Because if they change that, you're going to notice it almost instantaneously, and it isn't going to be as fun of a gameplay experience as it could. And you'll see here again, blowing yourself up in blood, absolutely something that happens. Therein lies the fun of blood in and of itself. It is not an easy game. It is not going to hold your hand, and even on easier difficulties, it's going to put up a very big fight. But from the overall setting to the graphics to the music to the weapons to the enemy sprites, this is the total package as far as games from the 90s were concerned, and today it is all that much better. And that is why, again, I will always cover Nightdive stuff, because they just seem to be making games I want to play and a lot of you want to play. And even though obviously this review is mine and mine alone, I would definitely say Nightdive Studios, Atari, if you're listening, go ahead and give Witch Haven and Witch Haven 2 this treatment, and I would probably give you a perfect review on that as well. All jokes aside, I don't know if Witch Haven is a good game or not. I just know I absolutely love it. When I bought it back in the day for like $5 at EB Games, and I'm always trying to convince more people to play Witch Haven along with Killing Time. And don't forget Nightdive Studios remaster that as well, and hopefully soon, unless it comes out before this video goes live, because I did get the review code earlier than release date, that the 3DO maps and Killing Time are included as well. But the reality is, every time I talk about Nightdive, there is a litany of games I can say that they've touched that I absolutely love, and this is definitely one of my favorites. But Killing Time from Nightdive Studios is always going to be in my #1 spot. But definitely check this one out. If you've never played Blood before, you owe it to yourself. This is a perfect remaster. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.